Good afternoon. Please turn on your camera.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Turn on your cameras.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
All right. Good afternoon. How about the others? Please turn on your cameras. Except for Cantonao and Buganda because you already told me now your problems in internet. AC, turn on your camera. Okay. Right. So let's pray. Lead a prayer. Miramon.
Start na, sir.
Yeah.
Put ourselves in the holy presence of God as we all say, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Lord, we're so sorry for our sins, and thank you for the gifts you gave to us, and thank you for the blessings, and for our food, and water, and air. Amen. In the name of the
Mhm.
Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Okay. Once again, good afternoon.
Good
Afternoon.
afternoon.
Afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Right.
sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Please, people, turn on your cameras. Okay. Okay. Right. So before we begin our first activity, before we begin our first activity, I would ask couple of questions. Couple of questions. No. So here, have you ever tried to write poems? Josh, you have experience with writing poems? Hmm? Have you tried to write poems? Or have you experienced writing poems? No? Yes? No? 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 Monique, have you tried writing poems? Mm. Now, for those who haven't tried writing poems, have you tried to read poems at least? Read. You read poems. Okay. Now, when I say poems, no, what or poem, what would be the first thing that comes to your mind? When we say poems, what would be the first thing that would that would come to your mind? Lady.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Smiling. What would be the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the word poems? Eddie. How about you, Alexander? Okay, Alexander.
I what, sir?
When we say poems, what comes to your mind?
Rhyming words.
Okay, we have rhyming words. No, rhyming words. Hey, rhyming words. What else? What else? Aboganda?
Kuan, sir.
Hmm.
Sharing your feelings.
Sharing your feelings. Have you tried to share your feelings?
Kuan, sir. Sa tula.
Uh, tula in Filipino.
Yeah.
Tula in Filipino. So you've tried already. So you've already tried writing poems.
Yes, sir.
No. So commonly when we say poems, it's about expressing your emotions, expressing of what you feel using uh, rhyming words, using rhyming words. No, however, is that all when it comes to poems? Yes. No, of course not, because poems can also may also I mean there are also poems which doesn't use rhyme or rhyming words. No rhyming words. There are also poems that doesn't use any rhyming words. Now there are also poems that should be set on stage. Now, does any one of you have any idea about spoken poetry?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. Now, have you tried to witness some spoken poetry performances? Sing it out. No? Oh, yes, Nilia. Where?
In my old school, sir,
Where was
we
it? In your old school?
Ablayana National School. We like hold it every year.
Abiliana. Big school. Abiliana. So how was it? How was the experience? Are you the one who performed, or are you the one who is an audience, or one of the audience?
I was one of the audience, sir. I was
One
supporting
of the audience. Supporting your.
my friend, sir.
So your friend is the one who performed. So upon hearing the performance, what what do you think about it? Could you describe us what happened? Share. Share naman dyan. Ilya? Ay, lagging. That anyone has also an experience of witnessing does any one of you witness a spoken poetry performances or performance? Sure? None? None?
Mga video, sir.
Oh, mga videos. Oh, you're already witnessing. You already witnessed. If you're watch with videos. Now, describe. Tell us about it. Sige daw.
Nila i-express ilang emotion the way nga i-talk nila, sir.
The way they talk. Okay. Now, was it beautifully delivered, or yeah, was it beautifully delivered, or bad one? Can you describe? Huh? Let's go back to Nilia. Nilia, tell us about the experience that you also experienced.
She was talking about love because she was like heartbroken, and then like it was really funny because she poured out her feelings, and I was just like laughing, pero I was proud of her.
Oh.
But, but I was proud of her because she was like pouring all her feelings. Stop. She
Come
was,
on.
and then she was pouring all her feelings, and then like
Mhm.
I was also very proud because like it was her way of coping her broken heart. Yeah, it was
Mhm.
really nice because I felt like I was part of her poem. Like that, yeah, that
Mm.
feeling when you're like part of something, like you can relate.
Char. So you can relate. So you can relate.
I know, I
So you can relate.
no, sir, but like it feels like you can relate, but you can't relate. You know that feeling? It's like that.
So which is which? You can relate, but you can't relate.
It's like if you eat a popcorn and then you don't like to eat the popcorn, but you wanna eat the popcorn. So I don't know how to explain, but
So what?
it's like that.
So which is which? You don't want to eat the popcorn, but you want to eat the popcorn. So which is?
So I don't know
Huh?
how to explain it properly. It's like I can relate, but
Huh?
I can't relate.
Huh? Again.
It's like okay, so when someone is like talking about a trauma or like
Mm-hmm.
something, and then you feel like you can relate, but you can't, but you haven't experienced it, but you can relate.
Okay. Mm. So you can feel what the speaker feels, but well, I mean, I'm sorry. You can feel what the speakers feel. However, even though you yourself wasn't able to experience what the speaker experienced.
Yes, sir, like that.
Okay, so that's one way that is one of the beauty of poetry, no, or poetry, because when we say poetry, it's because when we say poetry, it somehow expresses of what you feel, wherein your others knows what you feel, even though themselves they wasn't able to experience. For example, the way you speak, it mean you are in pain, so your listener can also experience that pain, even though they wasn't able to experience it themselves. Now that is one of the beauty. However, when we say poems, it is not just mainly about love. Because that's what's commonly, I mean, that's what our concepts of poems now. I write poems. Poems, it just only talks about love, right? It doesn't, it wasn't, I mean, it is not only limited to the concept of love, because there are poems also that inspires, um, encourage the listeners. Understood? In in order to achieve that, certain types of poems, there are certain types of poems, no, that expresses also that way. Okay, and some of those. You might think, sir, you are so classical. Means classical. You're so old-fashioned teacher. I don't care what you are thinking. Now, I gathered some of the classical poems of the Renaissance era. Renaissance? I don't think it's a Renaissance. However, I gathered some of the poems, classic poems, and This time, you are here to judge. Look, the poems. If this poems expresses the feeling, mainly expresses the feeling of the writer, or it narrates a story, or you might be thinking that, sir, this poem should be set on stage, or this poem is has been set on stage. Okay? Now, here are the poems. Okay. I love the poem. Among of them, the most I loved is the A, poem A. Shar, you might be thinking, sir, you're so romantic, but you don't have yours. You might be thinking, sir, you gathered some romantic poems, but you yourself doesn't have your girl. Anyways, go on. Shh. Sydney. Done? 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 Are you finished? Not yet? Are you not yet?
Yes, sir.
Not yet. Sana all na baboy nagluto.
Sir, you speak vernacular. Done? Or my PowerPoint. Yeah, my PowerPoint.
Sir, your screen is black.
Are you already able to finish the analyzing? Were you able to finish your were you able to finish analyzing? Yes or no? For a while. Okay. Now, my questions. This. Okay. Which poem do you think expresses emotions or feelings emotion or feelings of the author? Again, which poem do you think expresses a particular emotion or feelings of the author? Is it poem A, B, or C?
A, sir.
A. Why is it A, Riley?
Because
What's the title of A again? The
how
title
do
of the
I
poem
love
A?
thee?
How do I love thee? Okay. Now, why do you think it's A? How do I love thee? What made you think that it's How do I love thee?
Because he's giving himself or herself.
Okay. He or himself. Really?
Uh, include herself or himself in the poem.
Okay, so he or the author himself is already absorbed in the poem.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's have Aliyah. Okay. Aliyah, could you cite, because before Aliyah, no? Do you agree of the answer of Riley? Do you agree? Do you agree that the answer that poem A expresses a particular feeling or emotion of the author? Do you agree? Raise your hand for those who agree. Okay. Oh, raise your hand for those who agree. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, majority. Now, going back. Aliyah, could you cite a line? Could you cite of a line from the poem wherein the author expresses a feeling or emotion? Could you cite a line from the poem wherein the author expresses his or her feelings? Could you read that line, Aliyah? Aliyah? Yoo-hoo, Aliyah.
Di man daw.
Yoo-hoo. Oh, we cannot hear you. Yo, yo. Okay, while Aliyah is fixing her microphone, let's Monique. Uh, Monique, could you read a line from the poem wherein the author expresses emotion, or I mean his or her emotion?
I love thee to the depth and breadth and height.
Okay. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height. Okay. Now, going back. Number 2. Okay. Check. Let's check. Poem A expresses a feeling. Expresses a feeling or emotion of the author. No? Now, how about 2? Number 2, description 2. Which poem tells or narrates a story? Bidis.
Poem C, sir.
Poem?
C?
Poem C. Okay, let's look at again poem C. Poem C. It's Ulysses. Now, could you find a line where that justify your answer? Sydney, could you find a line that could justify your answer?
We are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are.
We are not now that strength which in old days. Okay. How about, do you agree that this poem is, this poem narrates a story? Yes or no? If yes, raise your hand. If no, do not raise your hand. Okay, si Mafranca. Nelia. 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4? 5. 6. Because best friend 6. 7. 8. Okay. If poem A expresses a particular feeling of or emotion of the author, then poem C narrates or tells a story. Okay. Now, therefore, poem B is intended to present on stage. It is intended to present on stage. Okay. Now, let's break it down. So when you say, how do I love thee, expresses a feeling of emotion of the author. Now, what do you think is this type of poetry? What do you think is the type of poetry that expresses a particular feeling or emotion of the author? Search, search, search. What do you think is the poem or the type of poetry that expresses a particular feeling or emotion?
Okay, Monique. No? Is that Alexander?
Acrostic poem, sir.
Again?
Acrostic poem.
Acoustic poems? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, think of this as a clue. Who likes to uh who likes to listen to music? Who among you here likes to listen to music? All right, all right, all right. Now, do you believe that songs are basically poems in which they put in a melody? Do you believe? Now, what do songs have? They have, okay, yeah, they have,
They have lyrics.
okay, they have lyrics. Now, think of this. Lyrics plus melody equals song, right? Then song expresses emotion and feelings also. Same with this. So what do you think? Lyrics. You have already the clue. The word lyrics.
Lyric.
Lyric,
Poetry. Poetry.
poetry. Almost. Almost. Bides. Almost. Lyric poetry. Lacking 2 letters.
Lyrical poetry.
Again.
Lyrical poetry.
Lyrical poetry. Okay. Lyrical poetry is a type of poetry that expresses feelings or emotions. No? And one of the examples of a lyric or lyrical poems, or we have songs. No, we have songs. It is a poem with regular rhythm intended to be sing. Oh, that's why it's called lyric. Some of them put into accompaniment. Some of them put into accompaniment. Okay. Some of them are, think of this. Could you give me a song that calls that there is a name wherein it doesn't there? For example, we have this song. I will chat it to you. Wrong spelling. Very old song. Who among you knows that one? You? Nilia? You know that song? A very old woman. No, that's songs that calls someone which is not there, or inanimated person or object, is what we call as the ode. Example of a lyrical poetry are ode ode are songs which are poems. I mean, poems or yeah, poems that praises or address to a person or inanimated object. For example, lemon tree. Mm, very common in TikTok, right? Lady? Mm. With dance step, lady? Common the days. That is an ode. Song. We have song, elegy. It's elegy. You know what's elegy? Okay. We have elegy. So you know what's elegy? No. Elegy is a poem that expresses sorrow. No, it expresses sorrow and commonly heard or found in like if someone's dead, yeah, that's elegy. Elegy. Okay, again. Now, when it comes to poetry, now poems is no, I mean, yeah, the lyric only expresses one emotion. So that's why ode is praising someone who is not there or yeah, inanimated objects, while ode, that's ode. Elegy is for sorrow. Elegy is sorrow. And we have sonnet. Okay, example of a lyric poetry is sonnet. That expresses love. Okay, so if poems expresses pain or sorrow, we have elegy. If praising, we have ode. And if love, we have sonnets. We have sonnets. And best example of sonnet is Sonnet 116. Understood? Sonnet 14 lines. Yes, now, how is this sonnet different from a simple lyric? How is this a sonnet different from other poems? When we say sonnet, it only consists of 14 lines. 14 lines na siya. Sonnet. 14 lines. Sonnets are only composed of 14 lines. And that's just the difference compared to other examples of a simple lyric. Okay, so next we have poems that tells another type of another type of poetry that are the poetry or poems that narrates a story. And what do you think is this type?
Narrative story, sir.
Top one, Gia Buganda. Narrative poetry. Okay, correct, Gia. Narrative poetry, from the word narrative, it aims to narrate a story. So that's why you can found there, or you can observe there in the poem Ulysses, there is a narration happened. So the author there narrates everything. I mean, no, not narrates everything. It narrates a certain happening. A certain happening. So that is narrative poetry. Now, sir, what are the other examples of narrative poetry? Because lyric, we have a lot. So you have there. You mentioned ode. You mentioned song. You mentioned sonnet. You mentioned simple lyric. How about narrative poetry, sir? Example of it is, have you heard the poem A Ballad of a Mother's Heart? It's a Philippine in your Philippine literature. Oh my goodness, what happened to your ears? Ballad of a Mother's Heart.
Wala pa, sir. Wala pa.
Woo! I recommend you to read it. It's a short Rashana poem. It's only a short poem that narrates. It shows there how how the son expresses how the son expresses his feelings towards his lover and you can also see there the love of a mother. So please read Ballad of a Mother's Heart. So therefore, one of the examples of narrative poetry, we have number one, ballad. A ballad. Sir, what's a ballad? A song? No. Ballads is a short poem sung in a rhythmic movement or choruses. It's still sung, but it narrates it narrates it narrates a story. So that's a ballad, short. And second example, we have epic. Epic. And one of epic, we have epic. So epic is longer compared to ballad. Compared to ballad. Epic is longer poem that tells a story to an intended to read, or somehow it tells also a story of the adventures and heroic deeds of the character. For example, we have Beowulf. That's an epic. When you say epic, it's longer. If shorter, when we say shorter, ballad. Longer and tells a heroic deed, adventure and heroic deed of a person, that's epic. As example, we have the Beowulf. If you don't know what's a Beowulf, try to search because we will look at it soon. And next is a dramatic monologue. Dramatic monologue, it's a poem to oneself. Dramatic monologue, it's a poem that is about yourself. So we have there the example, Ulysses. You have there the example, Ulysses. Okay. Next, presented on stage. What type of poetry that is presented on stage? Dramatic. Dramatic poetry. Because it's presented on stage.
So we have gets questions. I knew it. Studying literature is boring. Right? Reading poems. Hi, sir, that's boring. Well, okay, questions. So we have the three types of poetry. We have
Lyrical poetry, narrative poetry, and dramatic poetry.
now, did you take note some of the examples of different types of poetry? Good. Whew. Good. So questions. Questions? And so far? Okay. So, oh, lapas. We are already over time. Okay. So, Monique, may I have your report?
Sir, you said
Mm,
one time Bisaya. Unya
okay.
also Gia and Nilia.
Okay, you owe me tomorrow. Oh, one time. I mean, one time. Okay, 2 points for you. All right, 2 points for everybody. 2 points. Okay. So for who was it again? Who are the students owes me a word?
Gia and Nilia.
Gia and Lilia. Okay. Tomorrow you find Lilia and Gia. Okay, so thank you and goodbye.
Bye, sir.
Thank you,
Tomorrow.
Goodbye,
sir. Bye,
sir. Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Bye,
Bye, bye, sir. Thank
sir.
you.
Bye, sir.